get some more analysis on this with Ibrahim Frahat. He is an Associate Professor of Conflict Resolution at the Doha Institute. Thanks for being with us here.
Thank you.
First of all, it seems like everyone, not just in the Middle East, but in the wider world, is waiting and anticipating a response from Iran. What will Iran be considering when it retaliates eventually?
Yes, I think there is a reason for everyone to expect a retaliation from Iran. And what to expect from Iran at this moment, one is that to respond to this unprecedented type of attack on Iranian soil by Israel, crossing the darkest red line that one can do in relations with Iran, and by assassinating Ismael Haniyeh on their soil on that level. So this has put Iran in a very difficult position where it has to protect, it has to respond to this humiliation that Israel caused. It has to show that it's able to respond and to retaliate and to deliver a message that's equivalent to the type of attack that Israel has conducted.
So how does it go about doing all of those things without going too far and having even more blowback against Iran? Because we've heard Israel and the United States say that they will respond if Iran does retaliate.
Well, I think what we gather from official statements by Iranians is that Iran at this point does not really care. And we have plenty of evidence to suggest that the type of response that Iran is conducting is different in nature from the attack that the response that it delivered back in April, when it communicated the timing and the type of attacks that they're going to do. And the agreement, or the implicit agreement, was to deliver something symbolic. But now the Iranian leadership is making it clear we're not about symbolic response. There is a coordinated response with Hezbollah, and it has to hurt Israel the way that they are promising. And they made this public. Like, when you make these statements public, you're committing your political capital in the process, because now you are expected to deliver on this level. So that's why I think we are probably, in my view, this is the closest point that where we got to a serious tension, regional tension, and the closest point to a regional confrontation. Because yes, though despite the disagreements between the U.S. administration and the Israeli government, the U.S. remains committed to engage and to protect Israel and to respond, because there was a warning from the U.S. administration that if the Iranian response is strong, then we will respond as well. So now we are, at least on the rhetoric level, we're engaging in some sort of a regional confrontation.
You're a professor of conflict resolution. We've seen King Abdullah of Jordan, calling for more international efforts to try and bring the situation under control. What do you make of how the US is handling this, as well as other players in the region, in trying to de-escalate it? I mean, or is it just simply inevitable that this is going to, I guess, the tension is going to ramp up into more violence?
It's not inevitable at all, actually. And I think the U.S. administration bears the major responsibility here. And it's conducting, to answer your question, the conduct of the U.S. administration has been really terrible, because there is a way to avoid this. I think some sort of a serious American leadership to deliver an initiative at this point, speaking of conflict resolution, for example, is to stop the war in Gaza, right? And I think this would suffice for Iran to stop, or to stop itself from responding and engaging on this. But instead of delivering a political solution by a key player like the United States is sending more weapons and is arming more Israel and threatening to respond. This is not the way to de-escalate and resolve conflicts. This is the way to escalate and exacerbate conflicts.
At the same time, it sounds like the relationship between Netanyahu and Biden is deteriorating. It's a low ebb, as our correspondent in Washington said. So how is that going to impact what happens here and how the US tries to control or manipulate Israel in terms of what's going to happen next?
Well, Biden is now in a more serious position where he can really claim leadership and take a position. He's now free from the constraints of the U.S. elections. He's not running for the U.S. elections. He made many threats during the past months to Netanyahu to try to intervene and take a position to stop Israel, but he has never delivered. Instead, he's sending more weapons and supporting more money and more diplomatic protection. You can't run this kind of diplomacy while you're sending more arms at the same time you are asking them to stop. So it's a contradiction that the U.S. administration is doing, and it's unfortunate that Israel is making the call here, and the U.S. administration is paying the bill, the financial, the diplomatic, and think of the credibility, the image of the U.S. The U.S. is isolated on this conflict on the world stage, where now Netanyahu is the only place where he is received is the U.S. Congress. No parliament in the world is willing to receive a war criminal that's wanted by the ICC except the U.S. Congress. This is extremely embarrassing and extremely isolating for the U.S. for the U.S. administration to be in this position. But instead, it seems that Netanyahu is making the call and is conducting and is executing his plans, and the U.S. here is coming to serve and to prevent Iran from responding and to pay the cost of the bill. That's an equation the U.S. administration should never accept. When Netanyahu makes the decision to escalate and assassinate in Iran and in Lebanon, which is something that Biden opposed, at least on the rhetoric level, then he should bear the responsibility, should take the consequences of his own actions, not that he makes the call and then Biden comes to support him and to serve and to pay the cost for that.
We'll have to leave it there, but as always, we really do appreciate your insight into all of this. That's Ibrahim Farhad for us there. Thank you.
Thank you.